Welcome back, everyone. Today we're going to discuss about solving rational equations. So what are rational equations? Rational equations are equations that have fractions. Typically, there is a variable in the denominator. So let's talk about the steps that we should follow in order for us to solve rational equations. Step number one, we have to get the LCD. You can better see this when you factor out the denominators. Step two, get rid of the denominators. You can do this by multiplying every term by the LCD. Step 3. Solve for x. And step 4. Check your answers for any extraneous solutions. What are extraneous solutions? Extraneous solutions are solutions that came from using the correct algebraic process but does not create a true statement when you plug it into the original equation. Okay, let's have some examples. Example number 1. 2 over x minus 1 over 5x equals 3. All right, so the first step is to get the LCD, least common denominator. So let us work on this. So this is x, this is 5x, and this is 3 over 1. So there's a 1 here. So the least common denominator of this is 5x. Let me explain why. The x is found in 5x. The 1 is also in 5x because technically this is 1 times 5x. So in this 5x there is 1, in this 5x there is x, and in this 5x there is 5x. So the least common to all the three denominators is 5x. So the keyword is common to all the three. All right, step number 2. We have to get rid of the denominators by multiplying the LCD, which is 5x, in all of these terms. All right, so after doing that, we're going to do some cancellation, some math here. All right, so the x here and the x here on top will cancel out and turn to a 1. Therefore, this will just be 2 times 5, which is a 10. In here, this will all cancel out, and so therefore this will just become minus 1. And this will be equals 15x. All right, so for our next step, what's going to happen is we're going to simplify this. So 10 minus 1 is a 9, and that will be equals 15x. All right, so our third step is to solve for x and isolate the x, and that we can do by dividing this side by 15. But whatever you do on this side, you do on the other side. All right, so now what's going to happen is this will cancel out. And so our x now is isolated, and this will be 9 over 15. All right, so our x is 9 over 15 or 3 over 5. Let me briefly explain why that happened. Between 9 and 15, the greatest common factor is a 3. So if I divide the 9 by 3, it's going to be a 3. And if I divide 15 by 3, it's going to be 5. Okay, now don't forget that the fourth step is to do the checking for any extraneous solution. So let's go ahead and check this and plug this in to the original equation. How I do this is we're going to copy down the original equation, but whenever you see a variable like this one, you will have to change that into parentheses. All right, so this is like saying this is 2 over x minus 1 over 5x equals 3. All right, and then inside the parentheses, you will just plug in the value of x, which is 3 over 5. All right, let us discuss and recall how we divide fractions. So what's going to happen is you're going to copy the 2 down as a fraction, which is 2 over 1. The division changes to a multiplication, and then the denominator fraction will be the reciprocal. So it will flip. So this will turn out to be 2 over 1 times 5 over 3. All right. And then we're going to copy down the minus, and the 5 over 5 here will be canceled out and will turn to a 1. Therefore, this will just be 1 over 3. All right, now let's go ahead and simplify this. And this is just going to be 2 times 5, which is 10, over 1 times 3, which is 3. All right, now let's take a look at this. This is now, since they have the same denominator, we will just operate on the numerator. So this is just like 10 minus 1, which is a 9, over 3 equals 3. All right, so 9 over 3 is a 3. So 3 equals 3 is a true statement. And since this is a true statement, this answer here is a real solution. So therefore, this is not extraneous. This is real solution. So therefore, the solution here is 9 over 15 or 3 over 5. All right, so example number 2. 6x minus 7 over x squared plus 2 over x squared equals 1 over x squared. Notice that in all of the fractions, the denominators are the same. So therefore, there is no need for us to look for the LCD. This is their LCD. They have this as the common denominator. So let's do step 2, which is to multiply each term by x squared. All right, so let's go ahead and simplify this. This will now cross out and will just be 6x minus 7. This will now be equal to 1 or cross out, which will just be plus 2. And this will also cancel out and will just be equal to 1. All right, so let us now solve for x by isolating the x. So what's going to happen here is on this side of your equation, you will be left with 6x. Therefore, the negative 7 and the positive 2 will have to be moved to the other side. How we do this is we're going to add a 7 here and subtract the 2 here. We can also do the shortcut, which is to just move the negative 7 to the other side with the positive 1, but just make sure that when you do that, the negative 7 turns to positive 7 on this side. The positive 2, when moved to the other side, becomes negative 2, like this. All right, and then now we're going to go ahead and simplify this. So on this side will just be a 6x equals 1 plus 7 is 8, minus 2 is 6. To isolate the x, we're going to divide this by 6. Whatever you do on this side must also be done on this side. And then now this will be crossed out or cancel out, and this will just be x equals 1. The next step is to do the checking in order for us to know whether 1 is an extraneous solution or not. For us to do the checking, we're going to copy down the original equation, but whenever you see a variable, that variable turns to a parentheses. All right, so this is going to be 6x minus 7 over x squared plus 2 over x squared equals 1 over x squared. And then now it's just easy to get the 1 here and plug it in those parentheses. All right, now we're going to simplify this. So 6 times 1 is 6 minus 7 all over 1 because 1 squared or 1 times 1 is a 1. Now let's take a look at this. This is going to be 2 over 1 as well. Again, 1 times 1 is 1. And this one is also going to be 1 over 1 because 1 times 1 is 1. All right, let us now go ahead and simplify this. I can just actually, on my next step, I can just get rid of the denominator of 1 because that will be the same as just writing 6 minus 7 plus 2 equals 1. Now, however, 6 minus 7, we can simplify that as negative 1 plus 2 equals 1. All right, y'all know that negative 1 plus 2 is a 1 and 1 is equal to 1. Therefore, x equals 1 is a real solution. Okay, so here I'm just showing you another notation for showing that this is a solution. So this means therefore. So therefore, the solution is 1. All right, so example number 3. 4 over x squared minus 4 equals 1 over x minus 2 plus 1 over x plus 2. All right. And in the beginning, when I wrote that you will have to get the LCD, I specifically said that it is better seen when you factor out your denominators. So this one is factorable. So you have learned this in the past. This is a special product called difference of two squares. And special product of difference of two squares happens when the the sign is a minus, and the first term is a perfect square, and the second term is also a perfect square. So this is going to look like this. All right, so you're going to get the square root of your first term, and the square root of x squared is x. You're going to put the square root here and square it there, and so that's x and x. The minus sign indicates that these two have different signs. So this could be your plus, this could be your minus, and then for the next step, you're going to also generate the square root of your second term, which is 2. The square root of 4 is 2. And then copy down everything. All right, so after that, we're going to analyze your denominators in order for us to get the LCD. So let's examine this. So on here, you have x plus 2 times x minus 2, and this has x minus 2, and this has x plus 2. So what is the least common? The least common denominator, guys, is going to be this one, and let me explain why. On this denominator, you will see the x minus 2 over here. In this denominator as well, you can also see x plus 2, which is here. And on this denominator, it has also this denominator. So this is the least common to all the three. All right. After identifying your LCD, you're going to go to the next step, which is to get your LCD and multiply each term by that LCD. All right. And then now we are going to simplify. So let's take a look at this. This looks exactly like the denominator. In other words, this will cancel out and turn to a 1. Therefore, for this one, you will just be left with a 4. Let's take a look at this. So you copy the equal sign. All right, now here you're going to cross out the x minus 2. And so here you will be left with 1 times x plus 2. Okay, now let's take a look at this one. On this one, you're going to cancel out x plus 2. X plus 2 turns to just be a 1. And so on here, you will be just left with 1 times x minus 2. All right, so your next step is to combine like terms. So copy down the 4 equals x plus x is 2x, and then 2 minus 2 is a 0. You will divide both sides by 2. So x is equal to 2. Do the checking to make sure that this is not an extraneous solution, and then simplify. All right, I want you to notice these two denominators right here. If you simplify this, then it becomes 0, and division by 0 or denominator of 0 makes the fraction undefined. And this is the reason why your 2 becomes an extraneous solution, because 0 in the denominator makes it undefined. Therefore, for this example, there is no solution. Let's go to our last and final example. So in this given denominators, you would know that this can be factored out by looking for the number that has that when you multiply will be a 6, but when you add is a 5. So you know that the signs will both be positive because these both are positive. And then once again, 1 is 2, 1 is 3. Notice that this x plus 3 is here, x plus 2 is also here. Therefore, guys, this is your LCD. Multiply all terms by that LCD and simplify. This will cross out. You'll be left with 5 times x plus 2. This will cross out and you'll be left with x times x plus 3. And this will all be crossed out. You'll be left with the 2. This will be 5x plus 10. This will be x squared plus 3x, and then bring down the 2. Put all the x's, put everything on one side and set it all to 0. Combine like terms. 3x minus 5x is going to be negative 2x, and positive 2 minus 10 is negative 8. Now factor them out. X squared will be x and negative 8 will be negative 4 times positive 2. Now use the 0 property to solve for x. Set this equal to 0 as well as this one, then isolate the x. So that would be x equals 4 and x equals negative 2. Now check for extraneous solution. If you plug in the 4 in all these parentheses, there's no way that the denominator becomes a 0. However, if you plug in the negative 2 on here, it will be a 0. Therefore, 4 is a real solution and negative 2 is an extraneous solution. Therefore, for this example, the solution is just 4.